Their intention was to subvert the SNP. This is sensible, isn't it? Their intention was to subvert the SNP. This is sensible, isn't it? He's doing a pretty good job. What? This is sensible, isn't it? He's doing a pretty good job.
I'm actually not laughing.
He's had to mute himself because he can't stop laughing in between.
I'm actually not laughing.
This is sensible, isn't it? He's doing a pretty good job.
It resonates greatly within me.
This is sensible, isn't it? He's doing a pretty good job.
I'm actually not laughing.
He's had to mute himself because he can't stop laughing in between.
I'm actually not laughing. It resonates greatly within me.
This is sensible, isn't it? He's doing a pretty good job.
I'm actually not laughing. It resonates greatly within me.
He's doing a pretty good job. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Please delete as applicable because the internet is worldwide and time zones are indeed still a thing. Right? I'm not going to be going through and saying hello to everybody because we've got guests this evening. But as normal, I will put comments up in the chat to let you know what I've noticed you're here. And with no further ado, I will introduce the two guests. Sanson, Bud, what about you, chum?
Hello, mate. Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's well. It just feels like 2 minutes since I was on a stream. So, it actually was.
yeah, closer to 4.
Yeah, everything's champion, mate. I'm off this week, so magic darts.
Oh, you off all week or just May Day?
No. I booked this week off because I'm getting 10 days for 4 days holiday. So there you go. Courtesy of King Charles himself.
Yeah, very good. DJ, what about you, chum?
Well, no bad yourself. I'm good. Might as well just tell you my wee story that was say backstage there. So I went to Glen Affric today with my missus, and we banged into this guy with his son. I think it was his son. And everything started off sort of semi-pleasant, I guess. I mean, he was a nice enough guy, don't get me wrong, but proper tough from England, like down like London way. He's an architect and stuff, so you could tell straight away that he was going to be like some sort of lefty. And then within like 2 or 3 minutes, he said, So what's your guys' sort of political opinion on this Scottish independence? So like, here we go. So it's like, fucking hell. So started to sort of give my opinion on it, like that I voted for independence, blah, 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 blah. But I'm like sort of disillusioned with it all now. And then my missus gave her take. And then he just started going, and Brexit. What about Brexit? Do you regret voting for Brexit? No. And then he was like, oh, here we go. Then he started going on this like fucking tirade about that. Then he goes on to climate. He's like my main passion in life is climate change. I was like, oh no. And he's gone over like fucking like all these people coming over here. I'm half Greek, and all the people coming over to Greece. It's a lot worse than you would think up here in Ireland. So you don't see it, but it's very bad, and it's climate change is a contributing factor to this. It's all these people. My missus like innocently goes, it's like an invasion, and he's like, yes, it is an invasion, but it's an invasion of people seeking a better life and fleeing war and all needy people. Shit! Oh my god! And then he started going on about climate change even more. And he's like, "I don't think we're doing enough. I really don't." And I was like, I took the dog off my missus. I'm going. I just walked off like this fucking guy. I mean, honestly, if that had been me by myself, there's every possibility that you would have seen on STV News tonight that there was a murder in Glen Affric. Like, fuck off. So yeah, that was my day. But Scott Farmer's in the chat. Holy shit. Long time no see, got you.
Scott's is in. Glad to see him back. on the chat, at least if anything. But yeah, you wouldn't really expect it. It's not the place you would expect to bump into somebody, some random uh, climate alarmist.
Oh God, you've no idea.
Yeah,
Like just a total ball bag. You know, I started trying to talk to him like about trees. It's like I'm getting sick of them chopping down trees in the Highlands, and then he brings up CO2 again, like any excuse to talk about CO2. It's like, you know, you're absolutely right, and you know they don't take into consideration that when you plant a new tree to replace the old one, the CO2. And I was like, oh, fuck, what do CO2? They mention CO2. I'm an architect. I do. Oh yeah, in an architecture, you know about CO2. I'm like, oh, they don't really get the correlation there, bud. But you're talking to the wrong person. I mean, anyone he could have banged into, banged into me. Fucking want to kill him, curly-headed fuck. But yeah, he was a nice enough guy. Apart from that, I did leave him with her. Yeah, you deal with the prick. So how are you boys been?
Not too bad. I've had a pretty lazy day, farting about doing very little. And that's about the head of it. Well, we'll go through the housekeeping, Sansom. Do you want to do your normal bit of housekeeping, or do you want me to do it?
Well, there's only really a couple of bits that's outstanding, and it's tomorrow. Our good friend Ragnar Ironspear at a slightly earlier time of 6 o'clock. We'll have regular and people really like him, Matt the Angry Bootneck on again, and then our good friend John Davidson. He's on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 9 o'clock every week.
Right.
So there you
And
go.
I will add to that. Dave's Waffles House does a stream most afternoons at about 3 o'clock. I think it starts. 2:40 coffee and waffles. Does an hour and a half to 2 hours banter with a chat. That's a good wee stream if anybody's about in the afternoons looking for something to listen into. So there you go. That's about it for all our shout outs. Will we get into our first story?
I'll be with you in 2 minutes. I need to pray for my 5th time of the night. I
All
haven't
right.
done it yet for Hamza, of course. So
Yeah.
I need to get the prayer mat out again.
Have any of you a preference on the first story from what we'll put into the?
No,
right. I've got a
You'll-
surprise.
Well, I was just going to say we have. Well, if I was going to plug a new bit of advertising that we did cover. I don't know if DJ saw the advertising that we got, because we got a sponsor, and
okay. Yes, would this be a candle?
Yes.
Yeah. So, we'll plug that.
Right.
So like I say, there you go, mate. It's in the chat now. If you can share that.
Yep.
So this is Gwyneth Paltrow. And she famously was selling a candle called "This Smells Like My Vagina," and this is a real product. You guys can buy that now. But obviously, now that she's out of work, she's trying to drum up new income streams. So we got a worldwide exclusive. And DJ, mate, what you be getting your missus one of these? There you go.
You want one of them?
The fuck?
So
I'll buy one.
Just
out of curiosity. Just out of curiosity, I'll take one. Like,
all I will say is, if it's a hot summer's day and you're being marauded by midges and flies, if you put this candle on, they'll congregate around that and no bother at all. So I just thought we'd do a bit of free advertising for wee Nippy now that she's on.
I do think that Peter Manel has to be one of the luckiest men alive, in all honesty. You know, I'll definitely take one of them. I might even take 2.
You get a cheese version for the men.
Oh, fuck off. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that would be scary as fuck. Well, just even the thought of it. The question is it is it a wet slippery fish, or is it like a dried up one that's been in the cupboard for 3 months and starting to stink? We will never know.
I don't think I want to have this conversation, to be honest. Nicola Sturgeon's long gone, you know. We've got a brown man in charge now, and you want to talk about her lady parts. Oh, God. This is taking a downturn already. So every stream we go on with Sansom, it's just, he always wants to be degenerate. I mean, I'm here for serious talk, you know, and you want to talk about Sturgeon's lady parts. Well, I mean, come on, Sansom. Like, what are you doing? You're dragging 42 down. I'm a man of class, and you've been a dick.
Well, to be fair, you probably Sansom probably missed it, but Streaky Bacon was saying in John Davison's chat that he would rather have had me coming on with John last night to talk about the origins of dogging than Sansom coming on to talk about people climbing a mountain.
Such a Streaky Bacon thing to say.
Well, you see, this is just the outpouring. He's all heart and he's streaky. You know what I mean? Get a chicken and pineapple in him, and he just can't help being that conciliatory voice in your head. You know, it's like a smooth, velvety cushion on your sensibilities.
Well, to be fair, there is context to it because John's chat was getting a bit degenerate at the time, and I happened to
John's chat was getting degenerate.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it was on Thursday night. John's chat was
on Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh, Thursday. Oh, I don't know about what about Friday, the mountain one?
No, not the mountain one. On Thursday, the chat ended up talking about dogging, and I happened to make a mistake.
Sure, John loved that.
Yeah, right. Well, I happened to make the mistake of putting in the chat why dogging's called dogging, and that's whenever Streaky said he would rather I came on tomorrow night with John to talk about the origins of dogging than Sansom talking about people climbing a mountain.
Well, it's one of those things. I don't know if it's an insult directed at Sansom because he doesn't want to listen to you, or if he's just genuinely curious. I've got to be honest.
There you go. Pass it straight in there. It was Toffee's fault. It's always his fault, isn't it?
But at what point do we find does it just go to Toffee gets the blame for everything, whether he did it or not?
Well, he works for Serco. He does Channel 4 appearances showing off his Prince Albert to kids. So, you know, we had a new one tonight where his dog had eaten through his door. You know, there's loads. You know, so it's not looking well for Toffee, is it? You know what I mean?
He's quite the character. Yeah. Character's been built up of him, like.
Look at Scott's comment down there. Look at that one there. Wait, John Davidson's a dogger. Oh, that's class.
It's the hat. You know. The telltale sign.
Yeah. I can't even pull that comment up at the moment because I was in the process of pulling up the first story. Actually, right, I'll pull up the first story. It's a surprise one for you too, and we'll get away from this degeneracy.
Poor John. I just suppose.
Right, where was it? Yep, there we go. That's what Scott's is saying. We had John Davidson's a dogger. Never seen that coming.
Imagine John, if he's listening, he'd be absolutely mortified. Dear.
Right. Yes, our first story. I need to make. I'm going to see if I need to make this any larger in the rating. Yeah, I'm going to zoom out in a little. We've got a surprise one.
No,
This
I don't.
could-
I don't
this
think
could-
it's surprising to me. Like this is historically accurate. We all know they were black.
Right. Well, this could be the beginning of the end for wokeness. Egypt are suing Netflix for falsely depicting Cleopatra as a black woman. A lawyer in Egypt recently sued streaming service Netflix for falsely depicting Cleopatra in its newest show as a black woman. Anthony Mohammed Al-Sermi filed a complaint against the streaming platform at the office of Egyptian Prosecutor General Hamal El Sui on April 16th. In his complaint, the lawyer accused Netflix of erasing the Egyptian identity for its depiction of the ruler as a black woman in the show Queen Cleopatra. In order to preserve Egyptian national and cultural identity among Egyptians all over the world, there must be pride in the makings of such work, said Al-Sami. He then alleged that Netflix is attempting to promote the Afrogenic thinking, which includes slogans and writings aimed at distorting and erasing the Egyptian identity. Aside from Netflix itself, the complaint also accused the makers of Queen Cleopatra of including in its executive producer Jada Pinkett Smith. What a surprise that the Pinkett Smith's in the middle of this, of forgery. The lawyer has found an ally in the person of archaeologist and former Egyptian antiques minister Sal Haswas. He condemned the production for falsifying facts and called on Egyptians to speak out at Netflix's revisionism. Haswas also boasted the claim that Egyptian civilization actually came from Black Africa, a falsehood emerging from some Black African populations. Cleopatra was Greek, meaning that she was blonde, not black. The former minister said Netflix is trying to stir up confusion to spread false information that the origin of Egyptian civilization is black. The complaint lodged today by Al-Sami sought legal action against the creators of Queen Cleopatra and in order to shut down Netflix in Egypt. Fuck, they're trying to put the whole thing down. The lawyer explained most of what the Netflix platform displays do not conform to Islamic and social values and principles, especially the Egyptian ones. Now, either you two think Netflix are going to get a fair trial in Egypt, because I don't see it.
Hope not. I hope they get hammered good.
Well, the case has been lodged in Egypt, so that's where they're going to have to go to defend this. They're going to have to go into court and try to fucking back up why they put a black Cleopatra in. I think this is fucking amazing.
I'd like to think that if, in a hypothetical world, that this case was won, it would set a precedent. Because I mean, how many shows have Netflix done this before already on?
Yeah.
So it seems to be all right when it's our history and whatnot. They're rewriting, but it's nice. I also find it funny as well, though, that he mentions Islamic and societal values as if that's got anything to do with Egypt, because it's not like Egypt was always Islamic either. but no, it's be interesting to see what happens with that. They've got the thing about people like that, like Muslims in general, whatnot. They're in a position where they're able to make complaints such as this, and they'll be taken to a certain extent seriously. Whereas if we were to do this, or people, anybody of any credibility who was white, for example, tried to do something like this, it would be shot down in flames instantaneously. But something like this is allowed to take place and be taken to a certain extent seriously. Whether or not it goes anywhere, it remains to be seen. But this is just the latest example in a long line of Netflix, not limited to, but Netflix in this instance, doing shit like this. And finally, the Muslims are going to taste it. Well, Egyptians are getting a taste of their own medicine,
Well, the thing is, I cannot see an Egyptian court ruling against this. I think that goes into an Egyptian court with an Egyptian jury. I think Netflix are fucked.
I hope so. That's quite funny. Yeah.
And yeah, and then if this case wins, does that set a precedent for? Was it Anne Boleyn that the hat was black?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's done it with other things as well. In Mary Queen of Scots, was it?
probably.
No, she was no, sorry.
She was white.
She was white, aye, but there was breaks of black people in it, so it's not the same thing.
All right, yeah,
Sorry, it was my missus saying not to be there, but
yeah, and never mind that. And their black Ariel, the mermaid.
aye. How can we forget that?
Yeah, so I think this is actually. I think this could be the beginning of a pushback. That, and you can add on that the amount of money that Bud Light has just lost.
Yeah.
'Cause
Oh. Watch the
Bud Light-
space against that.
perhaps the beginning of the end of the virtue signal. If they if this goes where it could do.
Well, maybe in Egypt. I don't think they'll stop it. Do you know, it'll probably just be the same sort of thing as like Disney do. You know, like China, like the Star Wars movies. When then they made the black guy in the new Star Wars movies really small on the poster. And they airbrushed like the gay scene and shit out. But over here we had fucking the full shebang. So it might just be a case if they'll stop doing stuff like that in Egypt, but you can be rest assured it won't stop here. You know.
Yeah, I think we're probably at that. Sanson, what says you?
Well, at the end of the day, all of these companies, whether it's Disney, whether it's Netflix or Amazon or Prime or whatever it is, they're all basically owned by BlackRock or Vanguard at the end of the day, which always, it absolutely tickled me because obviously one of the marquee stories of the week, I don't know if it's something you're going to talk about, so I don't want to be sort of stumbling over stuff that you might be covering, I don't know, but the marquee story of the week was the fact that Tucker Carlson had agreed to sort of part ways from his shows on Fox News. He's not sacked by Fox, but all the speculation with regards to, oh, they did that because he was getting too edgy. Oh, they did that because of the almost £1 billion fine by the Dominion voting machines, blah, blah, blah. The reality is they just needed some excuse to because he's still being paid and he's still under contract for 18 months. So he's still raking in, millions a week because he must have been on at least, a couple of million a week for his streams. If they're going to give Crowder, if the Blaze or whatever it was, the Day or the Wire or whatever it was, we're offering Crowder 50 million, then you've got to think that Carlson's got to be on at least double that from a mainstream sort of thing. So he's still necking, he's still netting his 2 million a week or whatever it is for doing nothing. Yeah. And because he's still under contract with all of the relevant sort of competition clauses, etc., he couldn't sort of approach an opposing network, not that any of the other ones, because there was only really, Fox News is not our guy, but it's the only one that sort of came even remotely close to a differing perspective or view. So they basically bottled him up because Tucker Carlson literally is the voice that would get the Democrats sort of punched in the face for 2024 when the the next round of the elections go to bat. So he's out of action for 18 months, but that puts him beyond the election 2024, obviously for the new president starting in 2025, whoever that may be. So they've literally, just pushed him out of the way. But the really funny thing about that was that, Fox get fined $800 odd million, so almost $1 billion fines by Dominion. Yeah. But really, it was BlackRock fining themselves because BlackRock owns most of Dominion and BlackRock owns most of Fox. So it's all fucking kayfabe. It's all like artificial animosity, a bit like, the old WWE wrestling, what they used to call kayfabe, where there was always one bloke who was the heel, and you knew he was the heel. It just sort of made things a bit interesting and that kind of thing. But it's all bollocks. The real thing is because the echelons of power in the United States see Tucker Carlson as being the most vocal threat to basically the forever government. It doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican. It doesn't matter. They're all evil bastards. And this is, to me, this is no different. So you got these Egyptians here. So they find what are they going to do? Find Netflix. How they? Well, first of all, they can get it stopped. The program stopped in their country or whatever, which is fine. But obviously, Netflix is worldwide. Even if we take the program down, it's still not a win because Netflix will remain unharmed. Even if it's demanded that they have to pay a fine, it's rabbit. It's chicken feed. Nobody cares. So once again, I'm glad that a sovereign nation like Egypt has taken these bastards to task. And I think Amanda Lee in the chat said, what was the backlash against the Black Anne Boleyn? Well, it wasn't at all because people are fearful of being branded some nonsensical, meaningless label, or there was a shed load. But unfortunately, as we know, all of these television companies now are just riddled with pointless diversity hires. And if you're on the desk that's filtering complaints, all right, well, that complaint's disappeared. That complaint's disappeared. We'll send a perfunctory email saying, we've looked at your thing and we're looking into it. But there are no real checks and balances in any of that shit there. And if Ofcom get involved, they always fall on side of the fuckers anyway. So, if Ofcom got involved, oh yeah, well, we think you're wrong. But if you dare go on Stein like Mark Stein, go on Stein and talk about something that you're not supposed to talk about, say the quiet thing out loud, you get banned by Ofcom, to the point where you get censured from your channel because Mark Stein was literally the greatest dissenting voice on GB News. So they've got rid of Stein over here. They've got rid of Tucker over there. The difference with Tucker is he's still getting paid to say fuck all. But that's exactly what they want because Tucker Carlson, he is the destroyer. If he's on a free leash, because you've got to think on Fox, he's been coming out with some pretty edgy stuff, yeah, for the last whatever. He's been, like I say, he's been going for the last stuff, whatever. So they've been looking for any excuse to get rid of him because he is the voice that's sort of, we're not going to, why, what's all this nonsense happening in Eastern Europe? Why were we forcing people to take something that we knew didn't fucking work or, stuff like that, yeah? So they want to silence him because if he was allowed to go free, but still pay him, obviously, because, like I say, while he's in competition clauses, it means he can't start up on his own or join a different network because there are penalty clauses involved with that. So they've got what they wanted, which is a silence Tucker Carlson. He's still getting paid, so I don't suppose he's crying in his beer very much, but it essentially means it paves the way for another forever government toady going forwards. And like I say, at the end of the day, all roads lead to BlackRock and Vanguard. This is no different. They can get it banned in Egypt. They may even get a fine out of Netflix in Egypt. If it's some kind of ridiculous fine, if you get some twat fucking Egyptian lawyer who says, and you owe us £10 billion, or $10 billion, they're going to say, yeah, fuck off, enforce it. How are they going to enforce that Netflix pay that kind of fine? They haven't got the clout in order to do it. So once again, it's just a bit of kayfabe. But it's not kayfabe from an Egyptian's point of view or this archaeologist. And I'm glad he's standing up for his nation's interests. I wish we were allowed to do the same over here. But for me, yeah, it's all just a bit of show and nonsense, isn't it?
Uh, Blarkey was saying he just come in. Sorry for butchered your name. He said he just come in. What we started off talking about was Cleopatra was being played by a black person in Netflix, and Egypt are taking them to court. Here, I didn't realize that Dominion and Fox run the same people. So if Fox paid Dominion, I don't know, 5 billion, does that work as a tax write-off for Fox? Does that
Probably,
go?
probably.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, it's just
yeah,
basically the money goes from Fox into Dominion, but really it's money
yeah,
going from BlackRock to BlackRock. So
yeah.
there's no change.
But then if that means that Fox make a loss or less profit than they would have, then that's 5 billion less they have to pay tax on.
Yeah, and that's
Surely,
what's happening, isn't it? You know,
yeah,
the viewing figures, and because they had standard network coverage, but then they also had a behind a paywall streaming paywall service, which I think in that first week since took, I think it's lost like 37% of subscribers. So
yeah. That's exactly it. A lot of people, Tucker's audience walked with him, but I totally agree with what you're saying. They have took a night off the chessboard in Tucker. I think the writing was on the wall whenever he started to agree with Bobby Kennedy Jr., the one of the Kennedy sons that's running for the Democrats, that is very anti-vaccination and stuff. I think whenever
yeah,
once the scene Tucker sort of aligning with him, yeah, he had to go.
and Tucker would have been a great voice because Trump shot his bolt. You know, he promised to clean the swamp and did fuck all. He did nothing. Trump did nothing. Robert Kennedy is the only sort of legitimate politician with enough credence to do all of these things. And what they don't, because Kennedy's standing against his own president, you know, because he's running as a Democrat, so he's effectively standing against his own president in the primaries. Carlson literally could have been the kingmaker for Robert Kennedy Jr. And if anybody hasn't read Robert Kennedy's book, The Real Anthony Fauci, brilliant, really, really good book. And the difference is people say, you know, conspiracy theorists and that, right? The most important or the most important thing about that entire book is that every single thing that's mentioned, right, as a source or as a reference to a government site or literature or program or whatever, the back of that book is literally like, you know, it's a thickish book, but the back of the book is literally like, you know, I would say a fifth or a sixth, just a bibliography of references. So whenever they've mentioned something, there is an absolute bona fide, not some bloke on the internet saying something. It is actually from the ONS in England, from the CDC in America, from the WHO, from the United Nations, all these different references and everything. Yeah.
See,
So go on, mate.
Kennedy has been fighting vaccination cases for long before the latest vaccination. He's been at this for years and years, and he's very well versed. He's been taking cases about it. I think he has like a foundation, or there's a foundation that he works with that's been doing this for a long time. The
Well,
guy switched on, he knows his beans, and everything it's sourced up and legitimate.
Well, all I would say is, all I would say is this, right? And this is a for instance, which you didn't realize, or when we were kids, because you and I 42, I think we're roughly sort of approximately similar sort of age band, yeah. And the same with the Woodlander there. When we were kids, you never heard, you never heard of kids who had nut allergies, did you? You know, you never heard of fuckers who had nut allergies. And, you'd heard of autism, but it was like a 10 in a million fucking case or something like that. Yeah. Now, in what happened was in order to save money, because it's always about saving money, because they're all fucking bastards, yeah? What they decided to do in the I think it was either the late 70s or early 80s, was to the oil vehicle changed from whatever it was, like a fish oil or something, like a sort of an animal-based oil, to peanut oil, because it was cheaper and it had similar properties. Whoosh, overnight you've got fucking more peanut allergy cases than you've ever heard of in your life. Every time you get on a plane these days, there's some twat who's got a peanut allergy, so you can't have a bag of nuts even when you're on your plane. Do you know what I mean? Unbelievable.
Well, the other thing is saying about the autism and autisms and whatnot. They put psych teachers in the schools, and they had a target of 10% of children to have some sort of ailment that gets them a statement. And what do you know? We're not 10% of children that have got special emotional needs. You know, it just so happens that they come in right on their target. You know, they didn't start looking at kids with behavioural issues and found out that it was 10% of them. The government set in a target of 10% round about 10 years ago. And what do you know? That's what we've got. And pretty soon that target's going to go up to 15%. And you can be pretty sure that they'll get it. And how they tend to get their target is they pick out 3 boys in primary 1 and primary 2 out of each class that are acting a little bit too much like boys, and they go behavioral problems, and they take them out of the class to work on their behavioral stuff. And then what do you know, after being out of the class 1 day a week or half a day twice a week, after about a month of that, they're not only got a behavioral issue, but they're behind in their schoolwork, and that exacerbates the problem and create the fucking thing. It is absolutely ridiculous. You know, but I don't know how we even begin to fix that, because academia is fucked. The other thing with the allergies and all of that, they also came along with this incessant cleaning and scrubbing and hand wipes and keeping kids away from. The only thing it did was they started keeping kids away from anything with it, not with it until they were 4 or 5 year old. And what do you know? We get 5-year-olds that their body aren't used to peanuts and stuff, and they suddenly take these allergies. It's fucking
No, I agree. It's the same. Well, when my kids were growing up, because we used to have this, people used to stay in the street and whatnot, and they had kids of a similar age, and they'd turn around and say, "Oh, they're such picky eaters. They'll only eat, bloody Swizzlers or nuggets or whatever. Oh, I don't understand how they eat." Well, because they've always said that. Don't understand how your kids, get stuck into a nice Sunday dinner. And like my kids are looking, well, Sunday dinner's lovely. It's like, yeah, it is. Oh, they just won't entertain it. They just won't entertain it. All these, and then in the next breath, because I like I say, if we went away on holiday, because we went, like I say, go to Portugal or whatever, obviously it's a tragedy when you're blessed with an embarrassment of riches when it comes to things like seafood and that, to just not get stuck in. Get yourself the old cataplana and all these things. And my missus was the same. She goes like, they could be allergic. I suppose one way to find out, get that prawn down, get that fucking prawn down your neck. You know what I mean? And they loved it. And now, and when we went back, like 2 or 3 years later, when they were a little bit older, we'd be sat. There was a beautiful little family restaurant that we always used to frequent. It was a wonderful place in this little hamlet in Portugal where we used to go. And we get in there, and it was a place where the local people ate. So it's a great place if the locals are actually eating there. So we'd rock up, Brits abroad, lovely people, no mither, no nothing, and getting in, ordering and whatnot. So he'd come out and take the order. Yeah, we'll have the octopus and cuttlefish, clam, cataplana. Cataplana is like this big pot. It's literally as a pot of seafood, and it's magic. It's like the best thing ever. Peri peri chicken with chips and bolognese or some fucking British, so standard bog standard, most banal of dinner ever, which is what the missus was having. And they come out with this fucking cataplana, yeah, and all the locals are going, oh, yeah, the big lad and his missus going to get stuck into that. Then they dropped it down at the kids. Kids straight in there, fucking muscles coming out, octopus. And the people are like, wow, didn't expect that. And me, I'm stuck into the peri peri chicken because this place did absolutely incredible. It was the best peri peri chicken I'd ever had. It was like lovely succulent chicken, but with burnt, lovely crispy skin and everything. And obviously the missus was a bit of a, she's not adventurous when it comes to food. The kids are fist deep in this fucking cataplana. Yeah, they don't have any seafood allergies. Of course, the ones who are all like I say, this is the thing because, don't have that because it could have fish, seafood. Oh, don't have that because of that. And then when they get a little bit older and they are exposed to it, they're up like a weather balloon because they've got now all of a sudden got these allergies. But I'm pretty convinced that there is a correlation between when they switched from, and I think it was a fish, like a cod liver oil, like some fish-based oil or something like that, to a vegetable oil because it was less expensive, and they went with peanut, and then all of a sudden overnight, since those thingies, shall we say, we'll just call them thingies, came on the market, you get a massive spike in, and also, the nannies, the wrapping your kids up in cotton wool, everything has to be super clean. Everything has to be. I mean, we used to go down. I was saying the other night when I was on John Davison channel, we used to do doffers, which was this brook, and it was a shitty brook. It could have had turds in it and all sorts. I mean, when we turned up, we were that fucking filthy. The rats used to run away from us. So, you know what I mean? You get exposed to these things, and touch wood, God bless. I haven't ailed any horrible, nasty fucking illness, not in earlier life or anything like that, outside of the odd, I think I had German measles, I think I had chicken pox, but other than colds, that's about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like whenever we were kids, there was a river close to us that we would and actually there was a swing park, swing slides, which is hat, all that sort of stuff, and those boat things with a big long plank that you sat like 9 kids along and pushed way up in the air. All the stuff that they can't have in parks now because kids might die, apparently. But beside that, there was a river that ran down the back of a load of businesses, and you could get through or over the fence into that and walk down the banks that are all fucking covered in jaggy nettles and whatnot. And we would have fucked about round there. And God knows what was in that river. Chemical waste and all sorts of shit. And like none of us seemed to, because somebody being that, you'd end up in that river regular, like, but it didn't seem to do us any harm. What about you, DJ?
Sorry. No. Fuck it. I was reading the comments.
Right.
I want to bring up something about what's his name? RFK. So actually, it was a good comment that Tricky Wood just said there. That he's controlled opposition. He said something the other day. What was his tweet? How did
he does like a good net zero, doesn't he? Climate fucker.
Oh yeah, he's a climate guru, climatologist. But there shouldn't be retribution for the people like Anthony Fauci and whatnot. So that could be it.
Basically, move on.
Aye, yeah. Well, what she said, but like, no, I mean, you can't just fucking. That's the equivalent of that. What the amnesty? That's amnesty rhetoric in many respects. We should be moving on. But to Tricky was commented as well. He's saying some of the correct things about jibby jabbies and whatnot, but he's still pushing the idea that it was all real, which is mismanaged. As the comment said, I'm very much of the opinion, and I always sound like a total Debbie Downer, that nobody in the mainstream media at all. I know, like, not everybody's going to agree on everything and whatnot, so you might be right on one thing and wrong on other things, according to your opinion or whatever. But I just think that he's controlled, the same way Tricky did.
Well, you see, the thing about it is, he keeps on stating publicly that the government killed his uncle, and that LBJ was responsible for the assassination in Dallas. So I'm not quite sure that he's controlled.
Yeah. I didn't know that, admittedly. American politics is something I don't follow very much.
Yeah,
but people that parrot climate nonsense, like the man I was on about at Glen Arthur today, I'm like, just fuck off. But people that to this day that still insinuate that everything that happened in 2020 onwards was justified but mismanaged or whatever, I have a hard time taking seriously.
And the other thing that he has done recently is there's a guy called Sirhan that has been in prison for a very long time for the assassination of the other candidate. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Is that the one in the airplane?
John F. Kennedy Jr.
No,
yeah, John F. Kennedy Jr. Well, Sirhan did not shoot him, but he's in prison for it. And every time he comes up for parole, RF Kennedy Jr. is at the parole board arguing for his release because that's not the person that killed him. And so, as much as there are some things that he says that I do believe is strange, but he is no fan whatsoever of the swamp in the system.
Yeah. No, and to play sort of devil's advocate against myself, I suppose I'd say that he doesn't have to be controlled. Some people genuinely have different beliefs. Like, I understand that and stuff, but there's just so much out there for certain things that I like that could disprove what they say in certain instances. And so I find it questionable when they just refuse to acknowledge that climate change being a major example of that. But yeah, I don't know if you've seen his tweet or got it's dawning on mainstream figures like Anthony Fauci that their COOF policies were a public health disaster. Lots of us are angry about the mandates, the lockdowns, the censorship, and the insanity, but we need to avoid the toxic quagmire of retribution and blame and focus on what is it? Wait, what?
Moving forward, bullshit like that, probably.
Focus on what's disappeared, but retribution. It's just amnesty rhetoric,
Yeah. Well, I funnily enough, I was in the back room with John Davidson because I might be doing a stream next Saturday. I don't know yet. I might be picking up I might be doing Wood for the Trees stream number 2 next Saturday, and that was literally one of the topics. Just so that next week when it rolls around, if it does happen, don't get somebody turning around saying, "Oh, that's just what somebody else said last week." No, because I've had these fucking things waiting, right, for the last sort of 6 weeks, but I've never had an opportune time to try and arrange something because of various things. But this literally is one of the talking points. And I'm going to say it out now because we'll talk about it if it happens. Is it futile to hope for retribution against those who needlessly cause such damage around the world under the pretense of a pandemic? Or is it more likely that those involved will never be held to account? And I wrote that over a month ago because I was listening to an academic agent stream, and he was basically saying, and I understand where he's coming from, but he was basically saying, oh, for those people who are thinking that the likes of Matt Hancock and Neil Ferguson are ever going to see the justice that they truly fucking deserve is just copium. And I say, no. Well, yeah, it is, but it still doesn't make it fucking right, does it, cunts? Anyway, sorry about that.
No, I'll say to your sort of question there, or your topic even, do I think there'll ever be retribution? Or, they'll get their comeuppance, they'll be held to account? No. I mean, the proof's in the pudding, even now. Like, literally right now. A few days ago, I posted on my Telegram, the Scottish government, for example, in this instance, have published their latest COVID-19 advice for fucking businesses and whatnot to follow. Still parroting the narrative that's all real and you need to follow the rules. Might not be enshrined in law. You need to follow the rules. They're still rolling out the jibby jabbies, etc., etc. Still parroting the line. It's all safe and effective. Despite all the evidence that's come out now to suggest that at the very bare minimum you should question these things, they do not do that. So do I think that if there was ever going to become a point where people were going to start getting held accountable, you would think at the very least that stuff would stop, but it's not. They continue on as if there's no reason to question any of these things. Nicola Sturgeon, Boris Johnson is another one, Matt Hancock is another one, Ardern is another one. All of them, really, they all parrot the same crap, and it just seems to me as if they're just getting away with it and they walk away into the sunset.
Well,
Trudeau's another one, with the trucker thing a while back, for just one example of many. But now there's videos that I've seen on Telegram through the week where he's like now trying to insinuate that he didn't force them, he didn't coerce them, people to take the jibby jabbies. What was all the trucker stuff about then?
Yeah, he did.
Should there be retribution? Absolutely. But do I ever think it's going to happen? No.
I'll tell you what the biggest problem there is for there being any retribution.
On them swinging from the toes.
No, right. Well, they're never going to get what they actually decide, what they actually need, because they need behavior or some shit like that. But to even get any form of punishment would require the changing of a lot of our judges, because our judges, who are going to be the people that try the case and control what evidence gets brought into the case and what evidence gets kept out, are all on the other side of this. They have a different opinion than us, so you ain't going to get proper fucking justice until that changes. And even if you did get the right judge for the case, which there's a story I've got come up which shows you what happens whenever you do get a fucking sensible judge. You've got a thing called the Supreme Court in this country, which should never fucking be, which they can appeal and appeal until they get to there, and our Supreme Court will make sure that none of these people are ever found guilty. So that needs change before there's any justice in this country. Canada, that legal system is fucked. Trudeau is not getting held accountable for anything, even if you could get a case brought. The judiciary is on the wrong side. America, it's hodgepodge. There are states where there could be a proper trial, but I don't know. I think it's very doubtful that. I think that there'll be a lot of stuff that ends up sealed and will not come out until certain people are dead.
Yeah. No, I know a good two comments there as well. I want to highlight before I go for a piss. Martin W. Well, Tony Blair still walks around free. Very good point. He's classified as a war criminal in many respects, but yeah, he's still rolled out to talk as if he should have any legitimacy whatsoever. Especially now, the vast majority of the things that we know after the fact, like there was never any weapons of mass destruction, but yet we completely blew apart all of our wee hut friends' neighbours. For what? For a lie. And the comment above that, though, I really hope that you are being comedic or satirical in nature with your "it's coming." I assume there's supposed to be a comment there. Retribution. Please tell me you're joking. Please tell me you're joking. But don't tell me you think that Donald Trump is coming to save us. Please do not do that, or I will end my life.
I think half of the problem with Trump was he had no fucking clue what he was getting into, and he thought that whenever he became president, it would be like running a company where he tells people to do stuff and they do what he says, whereas he now knows the difference, and he's got the people below him will circumvent what he attempts to do. And if he does get back in, I think he will be different, but I don't know that it will. He would need to have 2 full terms with the knowledge he has now, and that's something he's never going to get. And it's going to be hard for him even to get as far as an election. He could well. His current case that he has, he's fighting in New York, not the fucking fake rape one. The one about his taxes and shit and campaign donations. He's in a court in New York where the jury pool doesn't like him, the judges don't like him, and he is not capable of getting a fair trial in that court. It should have been moved somewhere else. It wasn't. And he could end up running for president from fucking prison. But we'll see. Right. Anything else in this used to, or do you want another topic up?
No, I'm fine to go on. I really hope that guy's joking at your.
What?
You just hope that guy's joking. And you're just like, 5PJS. He's a genius, apparently. Right? Oh, come on now. I said earlier on, he did fuck all, really. Yeah, he did absolutely nothing for America. I mean, you can, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he had good intentions before he got into office, did realise that there's nothing he could do. You could make that argument. But I don't know. It just sounds to me as if he's one of many who have come before him, who have thrown their red meat to their white voter base without even having, in his case, to mention them, and they get in and do fuck all.
Well, there's some very simple things. Like he told the army to, he told the army to bring back the soldiers from certain countries, and they refused to do it, and then given briefings that they had brought soldiers back that had never brought back, and just fucking blatantly lied to him. He had an FBI and a Department of Justice that went out of their way to fail him at every turn. And it's being a president of that country. It isn't just as simple as I tell you to do this and it happens. It doesn't. He didn't have one day where there wasn't 100% opposition against him by people in both parties. And he didn't know how to navigate it. He didn't know which people to keep, which people to sack, and it was never going to be. It was a lack of understanding of how that game's played was his biggest problem, I think. He was allocating funding for stuff, and then it was being taken away again. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Trump's the best thing since sliced bread, or he would even have went anywhere near as far as I would have liked him to go. But he did give it a fair effort, and he would have needed more knowledge about that, how that swamp actually works to do the job he wanted to do. But
could have done with better in-laws.
Hi, he's got a great set of in-laws.
Yeah. Right. Is there any of the stories that you used to put in the Telegram that you just want up particularly? In any order?
No. I could sit here all night with this guy in the comments, so I'm just going to say one last thing on this before you move on. If Trump is a puppet, why is all this information being dropped? R.E. the swamp. I'm not even going to address your comment sincerely, to be honest, because the fact that you genuinely think that an old age pensioner is really going to save you when he did fuck all in the time that he had to save you. It speaks volumes. Right, that's all I'll say. Sorry.
You never think that the stuff, the information that gets dropped, like, that could quite easily, by your narrative, by your own logic, could very easily be controlled. You believe what people like you believe what you want to believe. That's what's really irritating about it. It's blinkered lights. You view the world through blinkered lights. You know, if something's about Trump, it must be true. Trump says this, it must be true. If information gets dropped, it verifies and reaffirms your narrative, it must be true. But anything else is false. It's all a puppet show. It's all theater. Consider that maybe the whole thing's theatre, which would, by extension, then include Trump. Because if politics is a show, if politics is a game, if they're all puppets, why would there be any different for Trump? How would Trump be able to infiltrate a puppet show, a theatre, and rise to the top when that whole system could quite easily, with the financial means and whatnot to do so, ensure that didn't happen? Did happen though. So how? How did that happen?
The same way Brexit got the right vote, but not the actual outcome.
Very could be, but again, like, we could just go down this and argue the
No.
toss of it. Who's to say that the vote didn't go exactly the way it was meant to go? Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. That's the thing. I'm ballsy enough to. I don't fucking know. You know.
Yep. I don't know. I'm just going by what I've seen, and from what I've seen out of the court cases against him, about the different bits and pieces that he's attempted to do, that it's very obvious that the people didn't do what they were supposed to do because they fucking said they didn't do what they were supposed to do. You know, I don't get most of what I know about American politics is from watching Robert Gouveia, and what he's following is the actual court cases. So you know that there's some form of a factual basis to it, because, well, fuck, it's in the court cases. It's as close to the truth as you're going to get. Don't know. Right. DJ, there was one you put in and you said only to open it once because the website was a bit of a bollocks. Which one was that, mate?
That was
TS Magazine?
Yeah. You can only view 2 articles of that a month.
Right. Do you want me to throw that one up next?
If it'll work for you, aye.
Well, it should do, because I haven't opened it.
Well, here's hoping.
Right, hold on. It's asking me for a subscription. How do I get that to go away? Right. I think we've got enough of that it'll work. Whenever I get this shared, you might be able to tell me how to get rid of the thing at the bottom.
Right, okay.
But, right, I've got this thing at the bottom. It's asking me to register and stuff, but I don't know how to get rid of that.
I just have to fucking ignore that. If you
I think we're just going to have to live with that.
Yeah.
Oh, right. The annual report on diversity in Scottish teaching shows that a key target is not on track to be met. There have been a small increase in the number of minority ethnic teachers in Scotland schools from 945 in 2021 to 980 in 2022. So, however, that amount is only 1.8% of the teaching workforce. The target of at least 4% of the teachers identifying as minority ethnic by 2030 is shown to be highly ambitious. How the fuck do you identify as minority ethnic? Because I could possibly do that. If it's just an identifying card, you're just saying, yeah, I'm that. That might work. Meanwhile, Scotland's largest teaching union, the EIS, has today highlighted concerns that the lower proportion of minority ethnic probationers find jobs than the general population of probationers? Has this switched from schools to prisons?
Right. Just keep reading.
Right. Right, hold on. Is a probationer somebody that's finished their teacher training but not fully trained for the first 2 years, or are they talking about people who've been in jail? Right. Diversity in the Teaching Profession Annual Daily Report bluntly shows that what needs to happen for the 2030 figure to be achieved. To meet the target, it is broadly estimated that around 10% of all new teachers until 2030 need to come from an ethnic minority group. This compares to around 3% currently that come from an ethnic minority group. What percentage of the population in Scotland is BAME? Because
Well, see, this is where they're because I've done videos on this in the past, like this teaching and the diversity of the teaching profession. Like they've been doing this crap for a few years now, and it's based on, well, it's proportionate representation to argue to answer Martin W.'s question, why have a target? It's proportional representation, but they're basing it on the 2011 census, which was 96% white, therefore 4% non-white. So we must have, in this instance, 4% of teachers must be non-white to reflect the census. They've said that when the next census comes out in Scotland, which will be next year, no, this year, sorry. So let's just say it's 6 or 7% non-white. Then they will have to update this target, so it will be 6 or 7% of teachers in Scotland will have to be brown or black or BAME. You know, so that in and of itself is a red flag, a red herring, a Trojan horse. Because as I've said before, as I've said in my videos, if you think about that, as their percentage goes up, that means that every time it goes up, these targets have to be updated. So eventually, let's just hypothesize 100 years from now, Scotland's 80% BAME. That means 80% of the teachers have to BAME. You know, there is nothing enshrined in law anywhere in the world. There's no human right in the world, no God-given right in the world, or nothing regarding morality that says that we have to abide by the fact that a census shows a certain amount of statistics, so we must apply that to every aspect, every facet of life. There's nothing at all anywhere that says that teachers must be brown because the census says that there's X amount of Browns in our country. This is ridiculous.
Right. Do you know, here's where this is going to get funny, because 25 years ago, we had a thing in Northern Ireland called the Good Friday Agreement. We changed, actually it was a bit before that, we changed our police service from the Royal Ulster Constabulary to the Police Service of Northern Ireland. And they made a decision that they were going to equalise the amount of Protestant and Catholic police officers, or if you're even if you're non-religious, they look at your community background. What type of place did you grow up in? And really easy to do that in Northern Ireland because we have segregated societies. And at the starting point, there was like 9% Catholic or nationalist police officers, and they've been working on that for, I'm going to guess, at 35 years to equalise the numbers. And we have an interesting thing now where we have people from Protestant unionist backgrounds that have done everything to apply to become police officers, and they get so far along the system and they're told, no, wait, you're now on a waiting list because we can't bring you into the force until we get X amount of Catholics through. And this happens very regular. And you're going to have the same thing. You'll have teachers that are trained, that have done everything, that are ready to take a job, and they'll not be allowed to employ those people until they get more Black and ethnic minorities, which is going to be problematic because you have a very small pool to draw from, and it's going to be pretty much, if you've got to the end of, if you've got 6 GCSEs and you're a Black ethnic minority, you're pretty much qualified to be a teacher. Is how they're going to cure this. But I'll read on a couple of bits. Minority ethnic teachers are less represented in promoted in promoted posts compared to the profession as a whole, with fewer than 1% of teachers in promoted posts identifying as being from a minority ethnic background. There is a higher proportion of ethnic minority teachers in the secondary sector, 2.3%, than in the primary sector, 1.2% of the workforce. A higher proportion of new teachers from minority ethnic backgrounds compared to the overall teacher population in 2022, 3.6% of secondary probationers and 2.2% of primary probationers. Right, that's what is the noodle job. However, a lower proportion of ethnic minority probationers find employment compared to the whole probation population. From the 2021-22 teacher induction scheme, 23% of secondary probationers from an ethnic minority background found permanent employment in their first year of teaching, while 50% of the secondary probationer cohort as a whole found permanent employment. In 2021-22, 165, 4.5% of the UK-based entrants in Scottish initial teacher education came from ethnic minority backgrounds, noticeably higher than in the 2016-17 when it was 2.7%.
Yeah, see, before you go any further, because I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
I don't want you to have to read the entirety
Yeah.
of the article, but just even that little paragraph there, because there was a report that came out earlier on in the year where they said, it was the latest diversity in the teaching workforce. How are we getting on? And again, they complained because they hadn't reached the target, but they acknowledged in this report, the same way it's acknowledged just there, that it is steadily increasing, albeit it's not hitting the pace that they'd like to see, but it's still organically increasing. And the fact that it's organically increasing quite clearly indicates that the things they're insinuating that are holding them back don't exist, because they're putting all these things in place to force them into positions. This is all coming down the pipeline, especially in Glasgow. The thing they mentioned about promotions and stuff, they're prioritizing them for promotions, etc., etc. But the fact that it's going up itself organically to match the fact every year the BAME population goes up organically, that speaks volumes in many respects. There's nothing holding them back. The country's predominantly white. Thus, the vast majority of school teachers will be white. But I hate even saying that. It should be self-explanatory. But the reason I hate saying it is because when the roles are reversed, that's exactly what they will fucking say back to me. Oh, well, the country's now black. That's why all our teachers are black in Scotland. I just want you to scroll down a wee bit and see if they mentioned the building racial literacy programme in this. I've passed that paragraph there. Just see if it, because it did mention it, the diverse profession. Nuzut Utamani. Critical race theorist, but you don't need to. To improve diversity of the sector, teaching must be seen as a safe, welcoming, attractive career option. That's beautiful, babe. Whatever. Right, scroll down a wee bit further. Let's see if it's in this. Anti-race management. Diverse workplaces in schools should not be a postcode lottery. No matter where teachers are employed, they should be able to rely on an equally delivered commitment to diversity. Whatever. Just a wee bit further down. It's not in this, right? But in the other article that I'd shared relating to this, again, they were bringing up the things are being put in place to increase the diversity in Scottish schools. And what is it that they bring up? The Building Racial Literacy Programme.
Do you want me to put up the other article?
I'll show you. I'll send you the picture because it's in a. Wait a second. I'll go into my Telegram and I'll say, because it's just two screenshots from a tweet that I took from the actual report. It's unbelievable. Like, they want to implement. We'll implement critical race theory. That'll get more brown teachers in Scotland, But 2 seconds. I'll send you it now. There we go. It's in the chat now. It's just this wee section here.
Hold on. Right, hold on. Oh, did you just send that to my Telegram?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Right. Hold on. Right. Hold on. I'll figure it. Fucking share this. Right.
Just save the
Sure.
photos. There you go. You can save. You can share.
Yeah. I'll go that way. Right. I'm just doing screen grabs.
No worries. But I just it's every opportunity to bring this program up, and it absolutely infuriates me. Why do we need more brown teachers in Scotland? And they always they say things like it's like representation. Black peoples don't see themselves. By that very logic, you could flip that on its head and say, well, if every teacher or more and more teachers have to be black, do the white peoples in the class then not suffer? Or could we then break this down a wee bit further than black and white? Are we going to start having Polish people demanding Polish representation and Germans demand, are English people going to start demanding English teachers who are actually English and not brown? It's like, where does it end? The reality of the matter is, it's just we want every opportunity possible to shoehorn in our own people. It's political opportunism. They're trying to obtain power.
Do I need to increase that size? I mean,
I don't know if you'll see the photos from that, but even if you can scroll down a wee bit. It says that the education program welcomes recent national initiatives that demonstrate a shared commitment to achieving greater diversity across the education sector. In particular, the Building Racial Literacy program, which empowers educators to implement anti-racism in their everyday practice. But the Building Racial Literacy program, all of 2022, I spent a vast majority of 2022 highlighting week after week after week, finding as much as I could in this program. It's literally critical race theory. So in this context, Scottish teachers are too white, so we need to put things into practice to remedy this because it's racist. What will we do? We will implement critical race theory. What the fuck's going on here? And yet, it's just a deafening silence in Scotland in many respects. Like, I don't hear that many people talking about it. I've tried. I really have tried. I mean, what's even more heinous about this bottom paragraph is anti-racism in their everyday practice, but we're in the context of building racial literacy. Anti-racism is not what you would assume it would mean. We all know this, right? But then the new anti-racism and ITE framework and the appointment of the GTCS National Race Diversity Lead. Now, what is the GTCS? That's the General Teaching Council of Scotland, who implement the rules / they are effectively laws in Scotland that all teachers must adhere to, right? So if that council, who has Kajina Mohammed as the convener, if they implement building racial literacy as part of what must be taught in schools, every teacher must follow it. This is how far we have got in Scotland. And what do we hear all the time? What gets talked about? Oh, well, we'll get independence. Like, I'll save us. Fuck the Tories. Yeah.
Right. Now, what happens if you have a black and ethnic minority student that goes through primary school, goes through secondary school, is doing well, is switched on, organized? What if they don't want to become a teacher?
Well, there's always that.
It's what if instead they would like to, I don't know, go into engineering because they can earn more money, and they would like to build some bridges and railways and shit, and they don't want to become a teacher? At what point because if they really want to go with this policy of forcing ethnic minorities in the schools, they're going to have to, at some stage, it'll be like a draft in university. You're the black and ethnic minorities, we've now got a degree, or which is one of the ways you get into teaching, do a degree, then do a year after that of teacher training. Or so they're going to have to either say to a bunch of them, right, X of you're going on the teacher training. Don't care whether you want to or not. You're going. That's what you're doing. Or a lot of the people that have qualified for enough to get them into a degree in economics and accountancy or engineering or whatever. No, you can't do that. You must go to the teacher training school, because unless they have the qualified people, they can't force them into the jobs. Or have they not thought that far in front?
No, it's not really. It's like they look at disparities and they immediately they claim that they're problems, and then they diagnose these problems that they've created themselves or they claim exist, and it's always racist. Or it's literally the same as yourself with like the feminist nonsense. It's like, oh, there's not enough women doing this. Must be sexism. It's like, no, maybe women just don't want to do that. Maybe black people just don't want to do that. Or because this is the thing that they seem to ignore. There's not that many black people in Scotland. So then you have to, or brown or BAMEs in general. Then you have to obviously look at their percentage as a demographic. How many of them are of adult age, not pension or children? How many of them are of adult age? Right, okay, well, that's minimized it somewhat. Then how many of them want to go into teaching? That's going to minimize it even more. Then you put that percentage against the percentage of whites that want to go into teaching. Bearing in mind it's a white country, naturally there's going to be a lot more whites than BAMEs that want a specific job role in teaching. So statistically, mathematically, it's going to be a white person gets a job, But it's racist, and this is the problem. We are the narrative, the media, the politicians, everything in Scotland, the same way that everywhere else with this shit's going on. We all play along with the bollocks that these activists and whatnot peddle, and it's not true.
Yeah, it's absolute madness. Sansom, what says you?
Well, once again, it always has to be it always has to be astroturfed and artificially promoted to appease something that doesn't really exist. This whole sort of mantra of representation, it literally doesn't exist. There are many, many countless examples. I mean, we were speaking about one earlier on where if people are categorized as gender dysphoric, then they'll bend over backwards to let them mutilate their bodies and get medical interventions and all this kind of crap. But for the similar sort of, mental or psycho illness, if you like, mental illness, such as anorexia. Toffee was right what he said. He says, you don't have an anorexic person and then say, oh yeah, I agree with you. You look as fat as fuck. You need to starve yourself even more, love. No, you do the complete opposite. And similarly, you've got these people who, have this fetish for wanting to be like an amputee, like an arm amputation or a leg amputation. Well, they don't appease them by cutting the leg off or cutting their arm off, do they? They try and work out what what the issues are. But this, like I say, this constant sort of push, and it's across everything. It's like, it's across like the BAME community. Oh, we need to have at least X number of people of these in there. But then you've got the LGBTs. Oh, we need to have X number of LGBTs represented in schools and everywhere. And then, the other class, one that tickled me. It didn't tickle me, but it's always got to be pushing just to make these quotas. And I just say, how's about we just throw all of that shit in the bin and just let natural people, the people who elevate to certain positions will naturally elevate to certain positions. And if you're good enough to do the job, you're good enough to do the job. And ethno-nats and all these lots say, oh, well, it's missing the point. But it's not missing the point, is it? It's sort of, and people say, oh, meritocracy, it's just as bad as it. But it's, at least you'd have something better. You wouldn't necessarily there. Like this week I saw in the BBC where they're talking about, NASA's first Raspberry space pilot. You know what I mean? Where does this end? Because, and I'm not got nothing against it, because I think the lad was like, physically fit, just had a prosthetic limb. So it's not really the same as like, oh, we'll have a Stephen Hawking up in space, But it has to be always pushed, doesn't it? Always has to be pushed. Like we need these quotas and everything. If he's the best person for the job, then he is. But if he's just there to tick a box, then no, he isn't the best person. Because could you imagine in that instance, like just like a what if scenario, we need to get the airlock open now, otherwise we'll all suffocate. We will all suffocate. Yeah, sorry, I can't reach. I can't get the leverage to open it manually, but I can pass on any last messages to your wife and 5 kids. Is that any good? It doesn't fucking work. Do you know what I mean? You got to be able to do the fucking job. You can't just get shoehorned in. Funnily enough, I had I was on a chat the other week, and there was one of these sort of. It was private. It was just more of a conversation than a fucking stream. It wasn't a stream anyway. It wasn't on. It was just a chat in Skype world, yeah. And I had one of these no marks sort of saying like, the diversity and equity and inclusion bullshit. And I said, okay then, mush. What are the percentage points on pushing somebody in? Just to be equal and inclusive and diverse then. Well, what do you mean? Well, let's just say you've got blokey here who's the fucking clear winner, or wifey who's the clear winner, absolutely mustard, best candidate for the job, bar none, but they don't tick enough boxes. So how many brownie points do you have to drop down, not knock them down, or ramp up because somebody happens to be a BAME, or somebody happens to be from the alphabet people, or somebody happens to be a raspberry? So they're the best person for the job, but because you want to tick a few boxes, you want to go for second, third, fourth, fifth best because they do tick a box. How many fucking percentage points are we talking about? And they couldn't answer me. And then they started coming out with some bullshit like, well, you have to think about it as a team, as a whole. This fucking new age bullshit. I could strangle them. I don't do fucking new age bullshit. I'm an old cunt. I just want things to be fucking black and white. Hence my avatar. Yeah. Are they the best person for the job? Yes. Employ them. Well, we can't because we need an extra quota. Well, you're derelicting your fucking duty because you want to employ a substandard fucking person just because they tick a box. Prove me wrong. Oh, well, there's a lot more that goes into it than that, because what you've actually got is you've got to think about the team fit. The team fit. Well, let's just say if we had a team of 5 fucking heterosexual white men who aren't woke as fuck, they'll work like a fucking house on fire. As soon as you start throwing spanners in like fucking chippy bames and fucking raspberries and all this lot, everybody's fucking tripping over themselves not to say the wrong thing at any given time. It's counterproductive. Prove me fucking wrong. And they can't. They can never prove you wrong. It's all this wishy-washy bullshit. Give me hard and fast evidence how a company benefits from a diversity hire over somebody who actually was best person for the job. They can't fucking do it because they can't quantify it because they're all cunts.
Here, Sansom, can you think, or DJ, can you think of any other society in history where quotas and special treatment went well for the people? Because to the best of my knowledge, anywhere that they needed a certain quota of people for something and they started giving people special treatment, it wasn't always good stuff.
No, I can't.
Yeah. Normally those people ended up in camps.
Yeah.
And
what kind?
Do you know that orange juice that you get to add water into? And it's like it's orange, but it's very what's that? Concentration. Yes, that's it. That's
right. Ooh, misses.
Right. Yeah, but nah. There's a good quote from Thomas Dell. He said, if you want to help someone, you tell them the truth. If you want to hurt someone, you tell them lies. This whole system's based on fucking lies. And they may not be getting herded off in the camps, but they're getting herded off in the plantation of some type, and it's not good for them. So there you go.
Anyway. Right. Do you want a funny one or a serious one?
Right.
For the next thing.
Right. Are we ready to move on to our next subject? Sansom DJ?
Yeah.
Right. We're an hour and a half in. So we've came to that part of the show that we do every month, where we introduce Sansom to batshit crazy feminists for a couple of minutes, just to
Oh
break
mate,
the
I'll
ice.
tell you what, I've got one of those. Can I give you mine first?
Do you want right? Yes, give me your one first.
Okay,
The,
just give me...
we'll have two batshit crazy feminist segments.
Just let me do the old Sherry Screeny thing.
Yep.
Oh, this is class.
Right.
Are you ready?
31 makes
Here we go.
£100 by
It's a
burping on a
video.
bag.
Yeah, watch this.
I got paid $100 to burp in a bag today, so we're going to start by chugging some Dr. Pepper and prepping the bag for my mouth. So once that is ready, we're going to start with one burp. They paid for two at $50 a burp. And I had some cream cheese on a bagel, so it smells like chives in this booch. And yep, it's ready to go. And of course, I quality control, so I had to take a little whiff to make sure it was satisfactory, and it's off to its new loving home.
That one then. You like your farts and your burps, you guys. There you go.
That's a class act. That is a class act.
Oh. I mean, that's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and
$100. Do you see what you said? Charging 50 quid a burp.
50 quid a burp.
Outrageous. Yeah. Bloody
I bet
hell.
you bought one.
Yeah.
I bet you fucking did that.
Yes, Jansen. Did you
He bought one.
did you get straight on the Amazon and get one of them ordered up?
No, because me farts never arrived, so I'm not trusting them fuckers again.
All right. No, but that woman, she actually looks more business oriented. I don't think she was calling you out of a burp.
I can't take the risk. If she did a full on Indian and Guinness mix, I might consider it. You know what I mean?
I wonder we should charge more if you said this is what I need you to eat first.
Yeah,
Oh my god! Like requests.
And
now then, guys, can you imagine
disgusting
him? Do you remember? Have you
as-
seen him? Me and Toffee, we talk about him all the time. This lad called Rate My Takeaway, Danny. He's good mileage. I like his way, but can you imagine Danny doing? Right then, guys, I'm being paid $100 to burp into this. I've just had a manky great fucking kebab with chili and garlic on. This is going to be minging.
oh fuck!
See that comment there from David Davis. And he says that I suspect that not everything in the interworld world is real. I can't verify whether or not that particular video was real, but the whole point is that let's just say that it's a joke. It's mocking lassies that actually do stuff like that. That's the point.
Yeah.
There are many women out there who have made a fortune of selling bathwater, spit in jars and whatnot. And men buy this. And you can slag the lassies off all you want for selling that shit, but the reality of that is men out there buying that.
Yeah, if the woman hadn't been selling, if men hadn't been buying the farts in the jars, that burping in a bag doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, there's one of two things. Either she's seen a sellable business. I have a little bit of doubt about that one because of what she was wearing while she was doing it. She needed a lower cut top to sell any of that shit. But whether she's doing it or if it's a parody, if the men hadn't been paying money for the farts in the jars, that doesn't happen.
She could just be a classy e-thought. You never know.
Yep.
You know.
She could be.
You never know. Some of these e-thoughts have standards, you know. But it's just sort of down indictment of society, really, is it not?
Yeah.
where things like that you can't tell if they're real or fake because there's so many examples previous to it of it being real. Like and as previously mentioned, Sansom obviously has paid quite a lot via his credit card for Belle Delphine's bathwater. This is common knowledge at this point, and so you can't sue me. But that lassie made an absolute killing. She started off as a YouTuber, and then started doing streams and stuff, and posting like naughty photos in lingerie, and then sold her bathwater and made like tens of thousands of pounds. Now she does porn.
Yep.
So,
Here, Sansom, have you ever heard of a group of people called Femi?
Who?
FEMI. They're right. Okay.
I already ate it.
Allow me to introduce you to Femi, the radical feminist group.
Well, hold on a minute. Let me just say the only time I've ever heard the word femi was with relation to that thing called the femidom, which is supposed to be a female condom. Do you remember that bullshit?
or
Yeah.
Amy, the black guy.
Yeah, we're talking sort of stuff from the 80s. Was it the 80s, that one, the femidom? Do you remember that 42?
Yeah.
Can you remember?
No, there is,
Yes.
femidoms, but I thought you said there that the only time you've ever heard the word femi. Well, you stand corrected, sir, because femi.
Is Femi that RC leftist twat?
No, the remaining guru. EU remaining guru.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Right. I'll give you a heads up. This is a radical feminist group on their way to protest against your woman Le Pen in France. Right. So this is the context. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Fucking what?
Oh, she's got a cunny set of chubs there, that blonde. Anyway.
Where's their hairy armpits?
Oh no, now that I can. Oh no, she's a short hair. That's not the same one, is it? Oh, they're nicely formed, though, aren't they? Anyway.
I can't really comment on that with my missus sleeping next to me, but I will
Am I
say
allowed
there's
to comment?
something ironic
Is
about
it
a bunch
racist to comment on women's boobies? I can't
I
remember.
better no, but I will say there's something sort of strange about a bunch of topless twats goose stepping down a road, complaining about fascism.
Just give me a second, 42. I'm clipping this. Give me 2 seconds, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. They do seem quite fascist in their it's to me it's not very straightforward. They do seem like a bit fascist in their outlook and things, and the way they group together and march and stand in straight lines and all that sort of shit. With the power fist up, it's all a bit weird. You'll be the same group did a thing where they simultaneously all got right in a circle and took a shit on election posters. And Sansom, you'll be glad to hear I was not able to find that video. I think it must have been taken down.
Can you buy them? Can you get them online?
No, they've missed the trick, because whenever we were doing that, they didn't open up a shop and sell them.
Oh, I'm gutted. Never mind.
Yep. So there you go. There's our feminist madness of the week.
Just so fucking retarded.
Tell Master Ben tell Master Ben to look up Femi protests Paris, maybe Le Pen on YouTube, and you'll find it'll come up. Actually,
Master Ben wants you to play it for him, Dawn.
So they were protesting Marine Le Pen.
Yeah, that was them protesting Marine Le Pen.
Calling her a fascist.
Yes.
So they have
got
no
the
issue
EU
with
flag right, at
and all the
least.
bullshit he's done. No, like these people are just so fucking warped. They really are.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
Like, I know, like you've spoken before on stream sets about like it's not left or right, it's good and evil and whatnot, but like the vast majority of the absolute fucking twats on this planet are what would be on paper classified as lefties, and they are just they're beyond delusional. They really are beyond delusional. You know, they're all for authoritarianism. They're all for, like, for example, all the COVID stuff, for example, coercion and whatnot. They're all for all this bullshit. But, you know, anybody opposes it, then they have an issue. And call them all the things that they should be applying to the things that they're all in favour of. It makes no sense.
Have you seen, honestly, have you seen, I've got to say this now, Rags is just straight in there after Dawn's comment, because DJ, do you watch porn? He's come straight in there. Master Ben wants you to play Debbie Does Dallas. He's straight, you can't stay away from the porn.
Yeah.
Old Rags.
Yeah, that one's not going up on the screen. But
Oh dear.
this is why Rags' video player doesn't work no more. Too much pause.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. It's like the worn out bit on Basic Instinct, isn't it? You know what I mean?
yeah.
Oh. Those were the days, my friend.
Yep. Right, Sansom, what's your pick for the next topic?
Here we go, mate. There you go. I
Oh,
thought
you-
this one was quite important, to be fair. So what we see here is this is Ireland, our cousins in the Republic of Ireland area, if you like. And they've got an amendment to include the UN Convention on Human Rights Protections on Free Speech within the hate speech bill. And that's been defeated. So essentially, what's happened is that, amazingly enough, the UN's Convention on Free Speech is less draconian than what the Irish Republic are intending to do. And the worst thing about this is the second sentence down, yeah, which is, and they've defeated that. So, you know, the UN Convention on Human Rights of Free Speech is basically you should be allowed whatever they say is allowed. So, you know, which is still quite limiting, but it shouldn't be if it's like sort of your own opinion sort of thing and you keep it to yourself, blah blah blah. What they're saying now is if you're a gobby shit like me, yeah, and the Gardaí, which is their cop shop, suspects that you might have materials on your machine, even if you're not going to share them, that would effectively go against the hegemony of the system, they literally can now raid your house for all your devices and everything under the suspicion that you may have offensive material without communicating it. Now, obviously, the way that the Taoiseach is playing this is essentially saying, well, it could be child porn or whatever, which we all know these fuckers in power, they love their child porn. So it's not really about that. You know, it's all about dissent against the system, just as it is with the online safety bill in this country. Oh, we need to protect children. We need to keep children safe. But as an added bonus, because we don't really give a fuck about children, is it'll help us to stifle dissent against the corrupt and maggot-ridden system that everybody has to operate within. And I like to say, this is the slippery slope. This is why, you know, we are seeing World Economic Forum sponsoring misinformation champions. The USA tried to get a misinformation guru that was kicked out because she looked like Quentin Tarantino's ugly sister. All these things are coming in. And like I say, it won't be long now. I mean, we're taking the piss. We're having a bit of a laugh. We've got some serious points here and there, but mostly it's taking the piss. It won't be long now before essentially we'll be Room 101, and they'll basically enforce that with the state-sanctioned security force formerly known as the police. So I just thought that was quite an interesting one to bring up.
What happens to writers?
Well, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because if you,
here's where it becomes problematic. You could be writing a book, an article, even a blog post, something benign like that, and there'd be stuff in that you're arguing against. Even if you say things like, well, this is an example of what's unacceptable, but those lines are in it, you could get put up under this law. There's a website called The Voice for Men, and they put out a post about their forums, and they said, we've had a bunch of new members coming in saying that women are bad and they're vile and they're evil, and this will not be tolerated here. And the says, if you say blah 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 blah, I can't remember exactly what it was, but if you say these things, you will be removed from this forum. We don't want to do that. We want to try to keep us here and educate you, but this is a line, you can't go past that. Now, under this law, if you put out something like that, you're in the crosshairs, because these fuckers don't give they don't give a fuck about context. They're just like, yeah, blah, 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 we're going for you, particularly if you've got a political opinion that they don't like.
Yeah, and that's literally what it is. I mean, have you seen this, DJ?
DJ, you're muted.
Sorry, I'll be 2 seconds. Just carry on.
Right.
All right, sorry. So did the amendment carry, or is it still in the works?
No, because it's been defeated. So in other words, there were people in the Irish government who wanted to say, well, we still need to align on the
Right.
UN Convention, sort of thing.
But what'll happen is this will come back with different wording, and we'll get it
Yeah,
passed.
exactly. That's like I say, the best thing in the world, if they want to do something or they want to push something through, is what's called, it's an old as old as the days, but they will do what's called reclassification.
Yep.
So you can take anything you want, yeah. So let's say, for instance, I always use the analogy of potholes, yeah. So in Britain, back in the early 2000s, under the Dark Lord's reign, people were moaning about potholes, yeah. And back then, the classification, I think, of a pothole was something that was 12 inches, either in length and or width. So if it was 12 inches long but only a couple of inches wide, then it was still deemed to be a pothole, because obviously cyclists could get injured, blah blah blah. So and they said, this, and there was a recent one just recently of a young, I think I put it in the chat actually, in the Telegram, which I can get the link and share the screen if we wanted to do that one. It's another sort of minorly funny one, but there's a street where this lad was so fed up with all the potholes, he's created his own little crazy golf course.
Yes, I've seen that.
out of the potholes. So what did they do? They basically went and said, well, how many of these sort of 12-inch either width or length potholes are there? I don't know, say there's 500,000, yeah? Oh shit, that sounds like a lot. How much will it cost, or how long will it, well, it'll take us 15 years and it'll cost like 2 billion quid or whatever the bullshit is. We don't know. Right. Yeah, well, we're not really going to be able to do that. Or what you could do is reclassify. Oh, right. What does that mean? Well, you could reclassify the definition of a pothole to be, say, 16 inches or more, or whatever. All right. And what would that bring it down to? Oh, that'd bring it down to about 100,000, right? But if we went to 18 inches, then we'd bring it down to, like 50,000. Well, that sounds much better, doesn't it? 500,000. Yeah. So we've basically done fuck all, but we've reduced the problem by, 9/10. And it's like, yeah, isn't that great? So reclassify, and then they can say, and under this government, we've reduced the number of potholes from 500,000, 500,000 no less, to 50,000. And what have you done, you opposition party, or you party in power? And he was like, they did fuck all. They just reclassified. Well, once again, this is where all of this stuff happens. So originally, if you remember, the online safety bill wasn't going to be called the online safety bill. It was going to be called the online harms bill. And then a load of people turned around and said, what does harms mean? Who do you find what harms mean? Oh, shit. Okay, well, we'll try it again, but we'll call it the online safety bill. Oh, yeah, that's much better. It's the same fucking thing. Do you know what I mean? It's bastards, utter bastards.
Oh, while we're on that subject, I think the West in general needs to ban referendums on anything that give the people the opportunity to vote on issues, because I was having a thing about this the other day. Scottish referendum for independence, once in a lifetime thing. It came back with the wrong answer for them, so they want another one. Brexit referendum, once in a lifetime thing. It came back the wrong way for them, so they fucking accepted that they lost the thing, but they didn't implement the fucking Brexit. The Northern Ireland peace deal, which was a referendum, went the right way for them, but in order to get it through, they put things in the deal that they never told the fucking public about, like giving pardons to the terrorists, which they never fucking told us about, and the referendum that the Basque people wanted to have in the Basque region to come out of Spain. They physically beat them off the street to stop the referendum happening. The referendum in Ukraine for Donbass and the other three regions where they voted overwhelmingly to become part of Russia, they just fucking ignore that. Taiwan has never had a referendum on not being part of China, but the world just accepts that they're not part of China. All of these referendums, they put through a process. And don't get me started on what happened in Ireland with the Maastricht Treaty, where they were made to vote on it 3 times until they got the right fucking result. We need to end the idea that we can decide things by the people for referendum, because every time that's happened, the people in power, the governments, have just done whatever the fuck it was they wanted to do anyway and ignored the referendum, but had like a sideshow. It's fucking nuts. It should be banned. We shouldn't be having any more of those until we actually get guarantees that the votes will be accepted whatever way they go. Rant over. But it's quite similar to what you're saying. Yeah, they'll put that through, and then they will they'll put that through, and then they'll just change fucking definitions and stuff and go ahead and do whatever they were saying.
Yeah. Is DJ back for his 2 penneth worth? Are you back, mate?
Yeah, sorry. I only caught the tail end of that because I was talking about something. But I'm assuming hate speech, is it the same? And I'm being very ignorant here because I don't actually have a clue. Like, that's the first time I've actually seen what you're talking about. It's the first time I've seen it anywhere, really. Is this the same sort of thing as what was passed in Scotland a few years ago, hate speech wise, hate speech law, hate speech bill? Or is this worse?
It's even worse than that, DJ, because what they're actually passing is if they suspect, so they don't even know, and you've never ever shared it, but if they suspect, so basically you've got a mouthy shit or an activist, for instance, yeah? All they have to do is say to Plod, we suspect that he's got materials that would be against our sort of sensibilities on his machine, so dissent, dress it up however you want, yeah? So essentially, if they just even suspect that you may have materials on your machine that you have no intention whatsoever sharing online or sharing with other people, it's enough for them to kick your door down and grab all of your fucking devices and lock you up. That's where we're getting to. Shocking.
And obviously, they can take that, they can exploit that. But, you know, if they suspect, you know, that might be what it says on paper, but they can just, you know, quote, you know, air quotes, suspect somebody and break down their door, so to speak.
And no doubt they'll always be just suspecting people who are against the transdemic, against people who are nationalists, against people who are anti-government in general. You know, they won't be doing this against drag queen story hour fuckers thinking, oh, well, we suspect they might have a bit of, you know, CP on their machines, so to speak. You know what I mean?
No,
They'll leave those fuckers alone.
I follow quite a few channels on Telegram of people from the Republic of Ireland, and I think it was maybe 2-3 weeks ago. Maybe arguably longer than that. I can't really remember. And somebody had it might have been that satirical soldier. He shared some story from an article, which was obviously quoting from government officials, and they had like several people that were being monitored, and obviously they were classified as far right, and it was the people who were making the loudest noise for the sort of protests taking place. The same sort of thing that you're seeing in the UK, protests against these migrants being dumped in hotels and whatnot. But obviously in the Irish context, the government, apparently, according to this article, were homing in on them. You know, their class is far right, so it's the usual routine. You know, and that's so if they pass a bill like that, that gives them carte blanche to just burst these people's doors down. In theory.
Yep. There's not a lot of ends anywhere, guys.
No, it never does.
Yep. We end up with fourth place. Right. We're to next, people.
It's entirely up to you. I think I only shared 3 stories to you tonight, this time around. Normally I bombard you with bullshit.
Yeah.
But
right. I have one here I would like to do. We'll get through it quite quickly.
all right.
I actually thought this was quite interesting. This is a company in Londonderry, although the newspaper has issues with spelling Londonderry. They tend to manage to leave out the LONDON, but I'll fix that for them on the way through. Right. Actually, check how large that is on the screen. I'll make this a little larger as well. Staff at the Seagate factory in Londonderry are bracing themselves for job losses and pay cuts to be announced this week as the company takes aggressive actions to lower the costs. Hard drive manufacturer Stargate is the biggest employer in Londonderry with around 1,400 staff. John Hume was instrumental in bringing the company to the city back in 1993, and only last week, US Special Envoy Joe Kennedy III pointed to Seagate as a success story of foreign investment in Northern Ireland. On a side note, Joe Biden, whenever he was over, was talking about this company and the amount of investment there is in Northern Ireland from America. Last week, Stargate revealed details of a $300 million or $241 million settlement with US authorities for shipping over 1.1 billion worth of hard disk drives to China's Hull. I'm not sure how you pronounce that stupid phone. Hull, in violation of US export control laws. Quarterly payments of $15 million will be made over the course of 5 years, starting in the fiscal second quarter of 2024. At the end of March, Davis Moosley, who is Stargate's chief executive officer, said that there had been weaker than expected nearline demand among a few large customers in the late in the quarter, and revenue had come in at a low end of our guidance range, making severe impact on our reported margins and profitability. Mate, do you think your profitability taking a nosedive has got anything to do with the fucking 241 million you have to pay to America for the sanctions on China? Who the fuck is being sanctioned here? China or Stargate? Because yet again, we have a thing where sanctions brought in to hurt China are hurting people in Great Britain, Northern Ireland, pretty much everywhere else against the West. And I reckon the reason why these people are losing their jobs is because America are saying you're not allowed to do business with these people. And because you did it in the past, we're going to take a shitload of money off you. And breathe. What do you think, lads? Sound some
Well,
DJ?
I know somebody who worked at that gaff because he's working at my gaff now. But yeah, it's I don't know, because it was a big employer at the time, wasn't it? So
well, it is now. There's currently 1,400 staff. Now, not only is that a big workforce for Londonderry, it's a big workforce for Northern Ireland in general. There's probably there's probably 6 people. If you take the civil service out of it, which is the largest employer in Northern Ireland, surprise, surprise, the government's the largest employer. If you take those out of it, you've probably got around 6 companies that are employing that type of amount of staff. And for Londonderry, this is going to be a fucking massive hit. And with the people that get laid off from here, it also means the shops in and around that factory. If you're selling sandwiches into the factory, if you're selling, if you're in the shops around it and petrol stations around it, the people are grabbing stuff on their way in and out. They're all ready for a fucking nosedive because the footfall goes. But, you know, fuck China.
all I will say is this, is you know, when a company is doing pay cuts in the midst of the highest inflation of all times, it's basically that's a signal. And the gaff that I'm working at currently have been sending a few signals, and it always seems to happen because I've joined a number of companies, well, either on contract, mainly on contract, where they've not been massive, but they've been growing, and then they grow to a certain level. And what seems to happen, and this tends to be, the vulture, venture capitalists, but I call them vulture capitalists. They have this plan, and what seems to happen is overnight, a load of people get pushed into the margins of the business. Some of the higher ups who were pretty clued up, basically, the ones who knew how to steer the company, they'll get pushed out and they'll get replaced. But they don't get replaced with people who could replace them from a position side or a smart side. They get replaced with fucking bean counters. So you push out somebody who knew what the fuck they were doing. Some other cunt comes in, doesn't know. Well, you don't know them basically. But when they start, when the first things that they do is start talking about outsourcing, start talking about, timesheets, start talking about getting in collusion with the likes of Arthur Anderson's, that kind of thing. That to me says, these fuckers are looking to basically just fuck you over. And it happens all the time. It's happened to me 3 times, but in those instances, I was a scumbag contractor, so I was a here today, gone tomorrow commodity anyway. I'm cards in at the moment, but it doesn't make it any less palatable. And like I say, the Seagate company, I work with a chap, really good bloke who did work. He was actually headhunted by this current company, and it seems like what Seagate are doing there now, he's going to cop for it where we are anyway, because I just get that uncomfortable feeling at the moment
Well,
with that kind of thing. But
Well,
yeah,
Seagate were doing fine while they were selling millions of pounds worth of stuff to Hull, but because America decided they're going to sanction China, they went, right, okay, that work, you're not doing it no more. And not only that, you're going to give us a shitload of your capital. And
yeah.
it's absolutely disgusting because, do you know what? China will figure out how to make hard drives. It's they will not stop one computer being built, anything being built. China will just go, oh fuck, right, we need to make that ourselves. Is there a fact? Yeah, we'll open up a factory and they'll do it.
Well,
we are politically sanctioned other countries, and it's us that fucking cops for the bad results for it every time. Same as you were saying earlier, we'll have to sanction the Russians. And are we Russian?
Well, no, but like I say, they put those extreme sanctions on Russia in order to cripple them financially, cripple them from a trade perspective. Russia's trade's gone through the roof. The ruble literally could become a gold standard overnight. If they wanted to, they could. And if that happened, that would fuck the dollar over. I don't think that Putin's at that point yet, because he knows that if he did gold back the ruble, because we all know there are certain factions in the United States, shall we say, who are as American as apple pie. But if there's a few quid in it, they'll fuck off to Russia and invest in the ruble, because they ain't got that enough. They've got loyalties elsewhere, shall we say. We won't mention certain countries in the Middle East, but they've got loyalties elsewhere, shall we say. And that would fuck America over. So I don't think they would stand for that. But Russia could legitimately, back the ruble with gold. And the same thing, like I say, they have this pretense that they're going to get. What is it driving towards at the end of the day? When Trump was in power, I'm not carrying water for Trump because he was useless. He did fucking nothing. One thing he did do was to stop jobs from being ensconced down to Mexico or wherever. And he said, no, we're not going to do that. We'll give Ford Motor Company tax breaks and we'll keep those jobs here in America. And that kind of thing I'm all on board with. People say, you're a bundle of sticks guy, shall we say, yeah? If you know what I mean by when I say bundle of sticks, 42, I'm certain you do, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm not. I would just like to go back to the old school version of capitalism, where the people who were at the head of those corporations had what was called noblesse oblige. In other words, an obligation of the wealthy to the communities and the people who work for them in those local areas. That's what I would like to see. And if I was in power, I would give companies that did that, every single tax break and incentive going, because I know that if those monies that they were saving were being invested in those local areas, and not on bullshit schemes like fucking transgender toilets and bullshit like that, but actual programs that benefited the community or allowed them to be slightly more generous when it came to wages, etc. Yeah, you can have all the tax breaks you want. What I don't agree with is this Lego block capitalism, where every single cunt on the planet is an interchangeable unit that can be replaced willy-nilly. That's what I hate. That's the one thing I hate about capitalism, or modern capitalism, is cheapest wins. There's no sense of loyalty. Like I say, this Seagate company, American company, been in Belfast for years. As soon as things are looking like, oh, it might get a bit wobbly. Yeah, fuck you. We're just going to pull out. Well, we don't want your business. This is why we should have British companies making hard drives of that, ST501s or whatever it is these days. Do you know what I mean? But this was all the plan back in the early 70s with the fucking touchy-feely Ted Heath, because he knew when he signed those documents to put us into the EEC, he knew, and it's been widely publicised, he said, this is the end of manufacturing in Britain and we are handing over our sovereignty to a foreign nation. He said that in private, but it was memoed and noted, because what the deal was, the rest of Europe said, you can keep finance. Basically, London will be okay. Fuck the rest of your country. Bastard. Hateful cunt. I hate him to fucking thing. And also he had certain proclivities that you're not allowed to talk about on YouTube.
Well, the other thing is, who in their right minds would have thought whenever we were going into Europe that apparently Ted Heath was all surprised that people would rather buy Volvo, BMW and Volkswagen ahead of fucking Austin Allergics with hydrospastic suspension. Our product was nowhere near as good as theirs. Fuck Mini Metro. Don't get me started. We've got to a stage where British Leyland and whatnot couldn't produce a car worth a fuck, and he got all surprised that people wanted these Volvos and Citroens and stuff that were far more advanced at the time. It's absolutely madness. But there you go.
All I will say is there was no, because the writing was on the wall with regards to manufacturing, there was no investment in innovation. Yeah. And that is the very reason why you ended up with a car with a fucking square steering wheel, in other words, known as the Austin Allegro.
No, it's the Austin Allergic. Get it right.
Austin Allergic.
Yeah, and it's not a hydroelastic suspension.
Hydrospastic.
Yeah, hydrospastic. That you used to have to take to the local garage every 18 months and get it fucking pumped up.
That awful green fucking spastic liquid, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. You take it around and they literally pumped up your suspension like a fucking tire.
Well, that was my mate had an Austin Metro, one of the first Austin, it wasn't one of the first Austin Metros, which was a great seller for, that should have saved them. That should have saved Leyland and Rover, basically, the Metro. Because the problem was, did you hear about the Longbridge factory when they put the Metro line out? Did you hear about that? Yeah.
No.
Well, I had to work. I actually worked in a former life back in the sort of mid-90s. I actually worked for a company that did a lot of work for Rover cars. So we were in bloody Longbridge in Birmingham, Cowley over in Oxfordshire, which is where they're doing the Jag, because it was Rover Jaguar at the time. And it was shortly before I started with them. Shortly before, I think they were. Rover at the time were part owned or wholly owned by Honda. Do you remember that deal that they had with Honda? I'll tell you now, if you ever got a Rover with a Honda engine in it, one of the Rover 200s, one of the new body style, sort of slick looking Rover 200s, you got the Honda engine in that there. Great vehicle. The Honda engine was superb. But they pulled out, and then obviously BMW got in. But BMW only wanted involvement with Rover for two things. They wanted the smarts on four-wheel drive technology, so in other words, the Land Rover smarts, and also the Mini brand. That was all they were interested in. Yeah. So I was working down there, but the original story was my mate had an original Austin Metro. It wasn't brand new, because I think the Metro, when was the Metro, like 81, 82, something like that. And this would be 86, 87. So it was a few years old, but it was his first car. And it was one of the original Metros. Good unit. But that was the old hydrospastic fluid thing. And you know, you get in the car and one side's a bit lopsided. Oh yeah, I need to get my suspension pumped up. You're like, you what? What do you mean get your suspension pumped up? Yeah, you have to pump it up. Right.
There was a wee garage up the road from us, and you put it in the lane, and they had a stick, right? The stick would have been about up the height of your hip, and had marks on it at different places, the height of the wheel arch of different models of car, and they pumped it up, and boom, boom, you park it on this bit of concrete, and they blow it up, and whenever it hits that level, that's you good.
Yeah, and this is the thing, because those original metros, because then when it became the Rover Metro, when you had like the Metro Rio and stuff like that, which was sort of slightly later models, the 90s models, but those original ones, you know, they got a really bad reputation of rusting to shit and like nothing flat, you know, long before you got 5-year warranty or corrosion agreements. And the reason for that was when they built the new plant to build the Metro, when they had the things that would take the sort of the body shells or whatever to the relevant parts of the factory, the roof wasn't high enough. This honestly, you know, it doesn't exist now. Well, the Longbridge factory, I think the skeleton of it is still there now, but they designed this thing and they couldn't get these fucking things through, so they had to sort of drive outside of the building, go around the back, and then come in the back in order to put these chassis units in. Right now, if you've done that before,
they've done that before. It has anti-rust treatment on it.
Yeah, and the problem is
they put the anti-rust treatment over the top of the motor's trapped.
So the problem was, if you got a build that was done on a rainy day, you were fucked. Oh man, you couldn't believe it. Honest to God, you know. And then they had those two hateful models that came out one after the other. What was it? The Montego and the Maestro. Jesus, yep. They weren't even a step up from the Allegro. You know, fucking hell. But anyway, yeah. Old times, good times, bad times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The thought process that goes into manufacturing is no, I can't. I nearly went off on a bit about the place where I work, but I can't really do that. I need to not talk about that. Because that would be very, very bad. The company I work for they have very strict rules about what's said about them online, so I'm not going to go there and risk that shit. But manufacturing is, like, I'm totally unsurprised that they didn't build the factory high enough to take stuff about. That's our manufacturing system all over.
Well, like I say, once the writing was on the wall, there was no investment in innovation. And so whilst the city was allowed to become, you know, the financial powerhouse that it was, I mean, in fairness, you know, if you look at the change, you know, the system changes and the progress in transaction times, blah blah, that was all driven from the city. It wasn't the Yanks doing that from the World Trade Center. They were just nicking the smarts off our guys. You know, they couldn't match what we were doing, so they just bought them out. That's literally how it worked, because the Yanks do that. You know, they've got the power of the dollar behind them, or did have. Oh, we can't match that, we'll just buy the fuckers out. And that was what Microsoft did. Microsoft had its own, back in the sort of, you know, early 90s, had its own database called Access, you know, which was a PC-based, file-based database system. And at the time, there was another company called Fox Software that had a database called Foxbro. And there was another one that was called Clipper. And so which were massively superior to Microsoft's offering. So what did Microsoft do? They just basically bought them out and rebadged them as Microsoft. So basically took all of the smart people who developed these, Rushmore algorithms and stuff like that, which was a real thing back in the day, and bought them out. And then they did the same thing with the slightly bigger database system. So, Microsoft had their version. They had, their sort of middle tier sort of like database system, and it was shit. And in the end, they just bulked out semantic software and got SQL Server, basically, which was semantic software. Stuck the label over it, Mickey Soft on there. That's ours now. You see, we've got Microsoft. Microsoft wrote this. That's the way that, the Yanks always say that the Chinese, they don't innovate, they just copy. Well, the Yanks have been poaching British ideas for fucking donkey's years, so fucking better, you twats. You know what I mean? The only difference being is that you're a warmongering set of bastards at the same time.
Oh, fella I work with is quite into his cars, and he showed me a video. It was on YouTube or something. I can't remember which car it was, but I don't know. Say it was a Ford car, and opens the bonnet on the engine, and in the thing there's a sticker where it says Ford on it on the engine, and gets a bit of a heat gun on it, gives it a bit of heat over it, starts peeling off the sticker, and there was this could be totally wrong, but in what the engines were, but for example, it was a Ford engine, and the Ford label peeled off, and there was a fucking Nissan sticker underneath it, where they were using a Nissan engine and just sticking their own sticker on it, which isn't so bad if it's Ford and Nissan. But he was telling me that, what was it? German one, good German car, Mercedes Benz. Mercedes Benz had a fucking Renault engine on it, which is, there's quite the difference in build quality you would expect there, but no, it's, the whole thing's fucking mad. There you go. DJ, still with us, chum?
Aye, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Anything?
Well, I had the article up on my phone. I'm trying to make sense, but business isn't really my strong suit in truth. But fucking, why? Can I just ask one question? I know you've kind of gone off on a sort of tangent. Why is a company in the north of Ireland, or no, sorry, Ulster, applying or abiding by American laws? Like what American laws? I mean, am I ignorant here? Economics and business is not exactly my strong suit.
Right.
I'll be honest, but I don't.
Right.
The other thing as well, can I just say, am I being conspiratorial to say this here? But the article proceeds at the end to make reference to the fact that for some time, for several months now, unions and whatnot, there's been, as it says, tensions have been rising between management and staff at the Springtown factory in recent months over plans to unionize the workforce. So, is this going to be used? Is this going to be used as the justification to unionize the workforce? What the fuck's going on? I'm sorry, I've been silent for a bit, but I don't know.
I have no idea about the union bit.
There's further on in that article.
I've read it, but I'm not sure exactly what the statement of that is. Right, here's what happened. America puts a sanction on selling certain computer parts to China. So if you're anywhere in the West, America fines you for doing the stuff that's against their sanction. And because that's a British selling out of a British company, the British government will make them comply with that. We'll put it through a court or whatnot. Bump. You owe America X amount of money for. So, and this is the other thing. This is how these sanctions work. is they can't sanction China. They can't go to China and say give us money. But what they can do is say if you're in our sphere of influence, you will not sell electronic shit to China, and they put a monetary value on it, and then they fine you. It's it's a fucked up money making scheme for America. They're making a fortune on their sanctions against China. The people that they're hurting is all the Western countries, and at the end of the day, Apple, every Apple phone, every Apple MacBook, every Apple computer is fucking manufactured in China. So there seems to be something wrong. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're allowed to buy that stuff from China. Apple's allowed to manufacture that, but these smaller companies that are making their money by being part of a supply chain to China, no, fuck you. It's weird, but I'm questioning who it is they're trying to hurt. Are they trying to hurt the West, or are they trying to hurt China? Because the Chinese will figure out how to build those hard drives, and then the only people that will ever get to build them will be people in China, because China, once they find out that you're going to hurt their supply chain, they'll go, yeah, no, that's not happening anymore. This is where we get it from.
No, I can see your point on that, and I did hear Censorship making the same sort of comparisons with Russia as well, same sort of thing, sanctioning Russia, but the only people that's really hurt is us, you know. Well, you sanction Russia while simultaneously, many countries in Europe are buying their energy. So, like, even if the sanctions were actually having any detrimental effect, it's sort of balanced in the books by all the money being thrown their way to purchase their energy. And on top of that as well, all the industries, like in Britain, for example, deindustrializing Britain, and what's happened at the same time, all of these industries have just magically popped up in the likes of China. So effectively, all we've done is given China our industries.
Yeah.
Yes. For example.
We'll pay more for our gas and oil. That'll show the Russians.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck?
Exactly. Yeah.
What planet do they live on?
Exactly. When it really just calls into question. This is why I always get so conspiratorial, if you want to say that, because I just think none of it, like, is it the void of common sense? No, I don't think it's that at all. It's very, very articulated or orchestrated, even. Like you could say, because it just seems to continuously affect us as countries, as opposed to the people we claim we're trying to hurt. But that's my 2 cents, really. But.
Yeah. Nah. Another one that we've got is we've won Sansom put through. Edinburgh University cancels film screening. Would you wonder why?
Do you know, mate? Funny enough, I actually had that one on my tabs ready just in case it come to it. But yeah, great stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Edinburgh University cancels film screening after trans rights protests.
Can we start calling it the transdemic? I've been calling it the transdemic.
Yep. Yes, that's a fucking word. The transdemic. Hold on, I want to check on the screen. That's a bit small. I'm going to make this a little larger. Zoom in and zoom in again. The screening of a controversial film asserting that women are defined solely by their biological sex has been cancelled by Edinburgh University after trans rights activists occupied entrances to the venue. What the fuck is controversial about that? The screening of a documentary, Adult Human Female, Posey Parker, bitch, she's totally right on this. She's totally right on Adult Human Female, but like a broken clock, she's right on that, and fuck what else. Once a day. Was organised with university support after a previous event in December was prevented from taking place when protests confronted protesters confronted audience members and occupied a screening room minutes before it was due to be shown. Critics of the film accuse it of being transphobic by denying that trans women have equality with biological women, and claim it puts forward unevidenced arguments. There's no evidence that men are women, so I'm not quite sure where you're at. Its supporters argue that it sets out a legal and biological basis for sex and the necessity for protecting sex-based rights. The rearranged screening had been due to take place at the university's Gordon Atkin Lecture Theatre at 6 p.m. on Wednesday evening, but several hours earlier, its doorways were blocked by masked protesters. University security staff refused to intervene because of the risk of physical confrontations with the protesters. Your security, that's your fucking job. Who described themselves as an ad hoc group of direct action activists and opted instead to cancel the screening. There was one minor scuffle outside the theatre after two audience members tried to push through the entrance but were held back by security staff. The security staff have no problem with physical altercations with the people trying to get in. How strange. In a brief statement, the university said it was fully committed to upholding freedom of expression and academic freedom and facilitating an environment where students and staff can discuss and debate challenging topics. We are disappointed that again this event has not been able to go ahead. Well, you should have made it possible for it to go ahead. In line with our commitment to fostering an inclusive, supportive and safe environment for our whole community, we worked with organisers to put measures in place to mitigate risks associated with the event. However, with protesters restricting access to the venue, safety concerns were raised should the event proceed. It was therefore decided that the screening should not continue. A spokesperson for Edinburgh Academics for Academic Freedom said University now had to convene a meeting between both sides to take the temperature down and facilitate the screening of the film. We've asked many times to have a decent conversation about how we can go forward together, she said. My view is that we have a conflict of rights. What do you do when you have a conflict of rights? You can't have a conflict of rights. You have a reasonable discussion about how that is resolved. You cannot have a reasonable discussion with unreasonable people. We should be having sensible adult dialogue, but you're not talking to sensible adults. Yeah. The first thing I'm going to say about this is universities are the highest level of education. Education is not supposed to be a safe place for your viewpoints. You're supposed to go to university to push the boundaries of thought and ideas and the rigors of well, actually, should be doing this with mathematics or English or not, whether or not men or women, that's pretty been sorted out. Have a look in your underpants and you can figure it out. I also disagree with the idea of people transitioning. I don't think that happens until I see a person go into a cocoon that they build around themselves naturally and go in as male or female and come out as the opposite that they went into. Like whenever moths go in but come out as butterflies and shit like that, I'll call that transitioning. They go for gender reassignment operation, and these people need to be held accountable, and somebody ought to tell them, if you don't like the information that's going to be in this film, don't go to the fucking film. Whew, I'm brave. Sansom.
once again, you've explained it 100% exactly how I would have said it, mate. You know, can't fault you at all. But the one thing I would say is they talk about safe and inclusive for what was the term? Safe for the whole community. And I just put a comment in there: safe for the whole community, apart from biological women being confronted by a cock and bollocks in a wig and a bit of lippy. Do you know what I mean?
Well, see, here's the thing: you've got two totally different opinions. You've got one bunch of people that thinks men and women are men and women, and that's set. And you've got another group of people that think anybody can be anything at any given time. And you can't have people with both those opinions feeling safe and secure in the one place. The only logical way to get past this, I'm going to see if we can find that safe and secure, but the only way you can get around that is they want to have this documentary on. Yes, let them go have that documentary, put up notices. This is the documentary. This is what it's about. If you want to go watch it, go watch it. If you don't want to go watch it, don't go watch it. And then maybe next Wednesday, the same amount of time, the other people with the other views can go and put on their documentary if they've got one, or go and talk shit for the hour and a half that the documentary took, and put the signs up on the same door. This is what's happening here at the minute. If you're interested in that, go watch it. If you're not interested, go the fuck away. That's the only way you can actually get that. Yep. In line with our commitment to fostering an inclusive, supportive, and safe environment for our whole community, we work with organisers to put measures in place to mitigate the risks. Yeah, you're going to have to share the space. You're going to need to figure out how to share the space. And the people with different views go to the venue at different times. It's really not rocket science. DJ? Sansom?
Is he just muted or is he gone, do you think? Or
I'm not sure.
Oh.
I'm not sure. He could be getting distracted because he has a visitor.
He has got company this evening, hasn't he? So that's understandable.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Mark. No.
What?
Sorry.
Oh,
No,
he was having a
no, I'm not doing it.
No. Turbo shit. Was that what you?
No. Right, but I'm gonna have to go, boys. Right? Sorry.
Right. Yeah, no worries.
Adios.
No, here, DJ. Don't worry about it.
See you, mate. Have a good one.
Yeah. I hope you're okay. I think he's having a bit of a medical issue as well there, Sansom.
Well, that's fair enough. You know, it's been a long. He's been out all day. I mean, when you, I don't know about anybody else, but you know, you sat in your bloody dotage in a bloody couch watching telly all day. You don't really get tired, but as soon as you go out to the coast or you go walking or anywhere, you get in. You know, it's like, you know, bloody hell. So you just, what can I say? It's just one of those things, isn't it? But yeah, but you know, it's good stuff. I'm glad. All I will say is, DJ, I'm over the moon you're courting, and God bless you and the missus. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm really glad that you're in this position you're in. You've found yourself a good woman, and yep, I hope you have a good weekend. Yeah. So, anything else in that one, Sansom?
No, mate, nothing at all. No, that's about it from me. But if you were thinking of playing a bit of music, I would like. Would it be permissible to play a bit of mine? Would that be all right?
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to do a double intro there because, or actually, no, I'll do yours. I'll go back to the other one next week. That's yeah, it's very permissible. We will use the Sanson intro. Trying to think of it. Anything else that? No.
It's a nice.
Yep.
It's not.
Yep.
It's not rude or anything.
Yeah.
It's just,
No, I was just thinking. I was just so fuck. Yep, I've got the crappy fucking presenting mode open. What the? Is that you doing that?
No, I'm not touching
Right.
anything. I'm holding it off now.
Right. No, I was just trying to, before that, I was just trying to think if there's anything else I need to add in. And no, we're not. We're fine. We're all good. Mate, thank you very much for coming on.
No bother at all. Always a pleasure, mate.
Yeah, right. I do really enjoy these end of the month streams. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And we'll do this, and I'll put the comments up on the wall, and then we'll say goodbye to the audience. Here we go. Okay, everybody. Thank you all for coming. It's been a great stream. Sanson's been Sanson, DJ's been DJ, I've been 42, and you lot in the chat have been, as usual, fucking awesome. Good night, God bless, see you all next week. I'm out of here, gone. Goodbye.